Hey, it's Paul from howtoplaybassdotcom. Today's lesson we're going to learn how to play a tune called Falls in Love by Joe Jackson, originally played by Graham Maby on the Look Sharp album, late 70s. This has got kind of a swing reggae feel, a lot of tunes going on like that in the UK at that time. Elvis Costello did some tunes with this kind of feel. The Police also did tunes with this kind of feel. So it was quite prevalent, or becoming more prevalent in rock and pop over here at that time. This is a pretty easy tune. It's basically the bulk of the song is built off one pattern, which I'll teach you, and I'll show you some simple variations you can do. If you listen to the original, you'll hear that there are more variations you can throw in. So as it's quite simple, feel free to experiment and try and throw in some more. It will enhance your understanding of putting bass lines together. Before we start and go and look at that riff, if you're not a subscriber to my free monthly easing, click the link underneath the video, head over to my website and subscribe. You get a free monthly PDF and video song tutorial exclusive to subscribers, plus there's a sequence of 4 song tutorials in video and PDF formats that again are exclusive to subscribers and are a thank you for entrusting me with your email. So go and do that and come back here, and then let's go and kick off the lesson by looking at this 4-bar riff. Falls in Love is based on a very simple 4-bar pattern that's played a bunch of times. I'll play it through with the metronome slowed down, then we'll talk through the notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's look at the notes of that pattern. It's a kind of a reggae swing eighth kind of a feel. First bar, the notes you've got are E, 7th fret of the A string, B, 7th fret of the E string, and D, 5th fret of the A string. You've got 4 E's, 2 B's, and then a D. Okay, that's the first bar. Second bar, notes you've got are G, low G, 3rd fret of the E string, D again, 5th fret of the A string, octave of G, 5th fret of the D string, and you really need to, it's kind of like an answer rhythm to the first bar. So the first bar would be 2, 3, 4. And that rhythm kind of carried on for the next 2 bars. So again, you've got 1 G, 2 Ds, and then an octave G. The 3rd and 4th bars of the pattern, you've got 4 Cs, 2 Gs, and a back to C, which is C is the 3rd fret of the A string, G is the 5th fret of the D string, although we'll look at some variations with the low G in a minute, and then back to C at the 3rd fret. And then the very last pattern, excuse the squeak, that's an A, 5th fret of the E string, G, 3rd fret of the E string, F sharp, 2nd fret of the E string. And those, the G and the F sharp, are quite staccato notes, and then the pattern starts again. Now let's go and have a look at how you could use it in the verse and the pre-chorus, where it's built off this pattern, and some variations that we could throw in. When you listen to the original of Falls in Love, you'll hear that although this pattern is the bedrock of the verse and the pre-chorus, Graham Maby does vary it up throughout the tune. So we're going to look at 3 or 4 variations. The first variation I want to use is the variation that you'd use just before you go to the what's the pre-chorus, where the lyric goes to everywhere you go, everything you do. And what he does is he plays the basic pattern, but the very last 3 notes he plays an octave higher. So I'll play the 4-bar pattern, 2, 3, 4. And that just kind of marks the fact that it's a change of section, and then the kind of the melody changes as well. The notes, just playing the octaves: A at the 7th fret, the D string, G at the 5th fret of the D string, F sharp at the 4th fret of the D string. Okay, next variation you can use is on the third bar of the 4-bar pattern. So far, how I've taught you is, but what you can do is vary that up by changing or displacing where you're playing these two G's on beat 3 of that bar. And what you can do is play them down there instead at the 3rd fret of the E string. So I'll play the 4-bar pattern with that variation. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the second variation you could throw in. Another variation you can throw in is on some of the notes where, especially in the first 3 bars, the last note of each bar, you're just kind of playing it staccato or playing it for just an 8th note. You could double that note up. So let's do a variation with doing that in the first bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we could do that in the second bar and double it up there, like this. 3, 4. You could do it in the third bar as well, but I do like that pattern, and also the staccato on that last F sharp allows you to get back up here to play E on the downbeat of the next bar. So those are some simple variations you could do. Another variation you could do, in the first bar you're currently playing this with 4 E's at the start. What you could do is change the last 2 of those E's to the low E string, so it'd be something like this. 3, 4. So again, you've got a variation in the pattern. Another variation you could do, third bar. We already looked at the variation where we went like this. But another variation you could do would be this. 2, 3, 4. This is the first bar. Okay, so what we did there, instead of playing 4 C's, we broke that up by, on the 3rd note, going down to the low G, 3rd fret of the E string, back to the C, and then up to the high G, back to the C. So there's millions of ways you can vary it up. Those are some simple ways that you can throw in. Now what happens in the verse plays through that pattern 4 times, and remember the 4th time through to end the pattern with that phrase at the 7th, 5th and 4th frets of the D string. Then we've got the pre-chorus, where what the bass is playing and the chords are doing stays the same, but the melody of the vocal changes and becomes more driving. Then we've got a short 4-bar section where, if you know the original tune, it says lady love, and it plays along with that. So let's go and look at that section. Okay, so out of the pre-chorus, I'm going to play the last 4 bars of the pre-chorus. There's 8 in the pre-chorus in total, and then we'll go into this section where under the lyric it says lady love, lady love. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here comes the pre-chorus. And then you'll be back in with the either with the verse, or after the second verse you'd go to the bridge, which we'll look at in a second. So let's just look at those notes. What you've got is you've got a pattern that goes from E at the 2nd fret this time of the D string, to G, 3rd fret of the E string, to D, 5th fret of the A string, to the octave of G, 5th fret of the D string, back to E, and then it repeats that low G, D, octave G, E, low G, D, octave G, E, and then that last one's held. So it'd be this kind of rhythm. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and if you listen to the original of that, and if you go watch this on my website, I'll put a link to the original version is kind of like a YouTube from YouTube, so you can listen along and see exactly what I mean. That just leaves one section to do. After the first time through, by the way, you go straight back to the verse. So that last D would hold for 4 beats, and then you'd be into that pattern again. But the second time through, it goes into a bridge, and let's go and look at that bridge. Okay, after the second time through that Love Your Lady Love section and the sustained D, there's a 8-bar bridge with the lyrics over it of Falls in Love, They Think They're Heroes. Here's a simplified way you could play through that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's 4 bars of just the guitar skanking, and you'll be back into the riff. So let's look at those bars. Essentially, you're playing C and G, 3rd and 5th frets of the A and D strings, repeating that, and then sliding that pattern up a fret. Sorry, not a fret, a tone I meant to say, which is 2 frets, to D and A at the 5th and 7th frets of the A and D strings. Then back to C, then to D again, only there's a variation. So what you're doing is playing D, D, A, then octave of D at the 7th fret of the G string, octave of A at the 7th fret of the D string, D, 5th fret of the A string, D flat, 4th fret of the A string, and then you're back to C and G, back to D and A, and then the last 2 beats of that bar, G and D, which are the 3rd and 5th frets of the E and A string, and then finishing on a sustained note of C. So let me just play that section again. 3, 4. Is held for 2 bars, and then you've got other sections of the tune. Now, that's a simplified version of the song. When you listen to the original, you hear in the piano solo, for example, that Graham Maby stretches out a bit and adds some more variations. By all means, experiment, but if you just use those simple sections that I've taught you, plus the simple variations to break up the main feel, there's all sorts of things you can do, throw in little rhythmic things, displace some notes by an octave, but that will break up the monotony of the line while maintaining its kind of thematic sound, so that the listeners still recognise it's the basic pattern that the tune's based off. But if you do all that and put those pieces together, you'll be able to play through this tune. It's one of those tunes, great tune to play, lots of fun, so I hope you enjoy that.